Hey everybody, Edo here, and this is Cat Sudoku Roll for Kyoto. I backed this on Kickstarter. It's Sudoku, it has cats, and it's Japanese themed, so checked off a lot of boxes for me, and I thought my wife as well, and for the most part it did. And so picked it up and checked it out. Okay, first off, this token must have been a Kickstarter exclusive. It's not even mentioned in the rules. I don't know what it's for. First player marker, maybe, probably, I don't know, whatever. But it's a cute cat, you can put it on your shelf. So, comes, basically, you need a pencil, but it doesn't come with a pencil. It's 4 dice and a giant book of these sheets. There's different difficulties within them, so like, you basically have 4 difficulties, probably, I'm gonna guess 25 per. And you'll notice that there's this like top area. What you'll do is when you play, you'll cut off 1 and use it for the table, though, maybe people want to mark it on their own for just keeping track of this, but you'll use cut off 1 and then everyone's essentially playing on the bottom half. And everyone plays on the same difficulty, so you're going to take for these cats. Now, it's not Sudoku. It's Sudoku-like. It reflects it, but it's a different game. This is not a brain burner, but just requires an amount of mental precision and awareness that you don't find in a lot of games. It's like working on a Sudoku puzzle with other people all at the same time. So you basically start with a blank, and the rules quickly are, and actually what's super weird and interesting is everyone starts with 100 points, and all you do is get negative points. So every mistake counts against you. But basically, you're filling in the spaces, and I'll talk about these circles in a second, but basically, any row can't have a number twice. So in Sudoku, you have that grid with not the 3x3 square in a 3x3 square, right? So square, 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 each with 9 numbers inside of it. And so here, if there's a line, there's only 6 numbers, 1 through 6 because of the dice, and you can't have more than one of one number. So like 1, 3, 2, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 would be fine. Because of a dice and having to do something, you might intentionally, or because you're just not paying attention, make a mistake and put 2. So you're not restricted from it, but you're gonna get negative points for each time you do it. So you have to have one in a row. Now, it sort of looks like a crossword puzzle. If there's a gap between rows or columns, then they're not the same. So you can do it that way. Also, so you can't have the same number in a row, you can't have the same number in a column, and then there's this sort of adjacent diagonal where you can't have surrounding adjacent diagonals with the same thing. Like a 2 diagonal from a 2 but touching. In real Sudoku, it's the whole board, but in this one, it's just like a local region thing. So we're gonna roll dice until we fill up literally every square, and then you're gonna pass it to the person to your left, and they're gonna check and give you negative points for every dupe number. They're gonna give you negative points for every diagonal, and you get negative points if you ever somehow forget to place a number or place too many numbers. And I'll talk about that in a second. You subtract them all and somebody wins. At the start of the game, on the dice rolling part, someone's gonna roll the dice, and the numbers that appear first go into, you have to put those numbers into any of the circles to start. Afterwards, you're gonna roll again, and you roll, and essentially it's just the numbers you have. So if I got this roll, I have a 4, 5, 1, and 3. People are gonna have to put anywhere 4, 5, 1, or 3. However, there's this wild counter. The way the wild counter works is the person who rolled basically can say, you know what, I want 1 to be wild. So that can be any number, or 5, or 4. And if there's doubles, you can say, I got 2 of them, I want all 4s to be wild, which is great, it helps a lot of people. Towards the end, it gets a little strategic. Early on, it's like whatever. But sort of like Yahtzee in a way, you can only have so many of each. So if I have a singular roll of a 1 that I made wild, and then somebody else makes a two 1s wild, for the rest of the game, you can't do it. There are a couple like totally wild, like anything you want spots, but like once they're filled, you can't use wild. And if the numbers are rolled and none of them can be wild, then you just have to use them. And it's just super thinky. You're like 4 numbers at a time. You're like looking at the columns and the rows and where to add them, and you have to like put in your head like what the wild number is and keeping track of it. It feels very unique in that it's so puzzly. It's so much like this kind of personal puzzle that it just takes a ton of concentration, and you're not like joking around. You're just like playing, you gotta want to have this fun. It's like if you've played crosswords with somebody, like competitive crossword puzzles, or it's just like it's very heavy thinking in this number spatial way. So if you don't like numbers, you don't like spatial things, you're like, if somebody's like, I don't like Sudoku, this is not going to let you just stay away from this game. But if you do, there's two problems that really bugged me. One is because you have these wilds and you're moving around, it becomes really easy to forget if you've done all the numbers. You're like, okay, I should have done 24, or I should have done 24, or I should have 32 boxes filled. And the amount of times you sit there and you like literally recount every single one of your objects to like make sure you're right is a lot. And really what ends up also happening is they have this rule that like if you forget or mess up, you just get negative points. But it's like a bad way to lose. It's like if you do this, you're just gonna lose points. But really it's like the game shouldn't have to have a rule set for like if people get lost in their numbers. So like I just found that every round turns into like, hey, did everyone place 4? Check your 4. Make sure you did your 4. My wife started on a number of games like just listing everything in the wild so like she could check back. And I think it's just a lot to keep in your brain. It's cool. I dig it. I think there are a lot of people who love this, but it's just a lot. The other quibble I have, it's a little more than a quibble, I think. I just don't think the art's servicing the game, actually. Like, I get it, it's cute, but like when you're looking at this, like there's way too much noise in this graphic design and too much contrast with the art underneath it. Like, I just want to see my numbers. And seeing the art and the numbers like doesn't add anything, it just frustrates me. And it's worse than other ones. It's not terrible, but put the art on the box. These should have been cleaner, I think, personally. And I get it. I mean, I love the way it looks, but when you're actually playing this game, it's like, oh god. And I wouldn't have minded a little scrib or scratch area on this so that I could like keep notes while looking at, maybe tally up how many free spots I have in a row or how many I've placed, just to like keep track of things a little bit better. These squares are pretty small. My wife, who plays a ton of Sudoku, was doing they do this thing where you put like dots in the corners and stuff, but it's just a lot to think about. Still, I can easily recommend this game. I mean, I think if you're like, what would be a cool way to play with Sudoku, it delivers that. And if that sounds like fun, I think you'll find it fun and interesting. Just like, don't have kids running around asking questions while you're trying to play this game. I mean, this is like, you gotta be into it or you're gonna like start missing numbers and going from there. But it's cute, I dig it. I think you'd use these pads up pretty quick, but worth checking out. This is Cat Sudoku Roll for Kyoto.